Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Chemda.
Sarah Lazarus says maybe Leonardo DiCaprio hated 9/11 so much that he can't even date women who remember it. Did that occur to any of you? That's a thought. That's a thought. Man, I'm still reminiscing over the 24-hour marathon. Like, almost like it's a dream. And you're like, oh, yeah, I was stuck in the conveyor belt.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to Clark Jones, hearing the last episode that we just put up, and was like, whose baby is this? It's funny how things are coming to me. Mike was convinced her neighbors are making meth. That's because the dishwashers run too long. Those are cocaine thoughts. That's in the episode you just heard. But so much happened. And sometimes people remind me on social media. There was that drug hour with Murph, Craig, and Rena Calm. There was a Melody and, talking about Melody and Allie Clayton. Only one of them were there. Let me put it that way.
Yikes.
Joe DeVito popped in for hours.
Joe
DeRosa. Kirsten O'Brien gave a big reveal related to that. Let's see. Rob Hayes. He was dealing with he used to love Kanye West. He had a podcast dedicated to Kanye West. He's got to talk about how he dealt with all that. Megan Keister, I think I'm literally in love.
I think everyone fell in love with Megan Keister. And I don't want to mention this right now because I just said everyone fell in love with her, but there's usually a standout guest, an MVP. And I usually like to hear from the audience who they thought it was. So let us know on the forums, on Reddit, wherever, on social media, because I want to know who stood out to everybody else.
Remember Dylan Adler? He's given away. He writes for James Corden now. He had no problem spilling behind the scenes things about James Corden and the restaurant debacle and how James Corden sat all the Raiders down to try to talk about it. Very fun. Here's Reed CJ saying Frank Conniff is the best. Hell, everything around 1 a.m. Mountain Time was the greatest few hours, especially on the mushrooms I took. Oh, it felt like we were on them too. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true.
A lot of hours. Here's somebody's favorite, Madge K. Actually, their first post. So they mean it. I love Bianca cracking up Andy Kindler shortly after he joined. He joins. She has him laughing already. So funny.
Yeah, Andy Kindler was so fun. What was it you asked him, like, who was terrible in show business? And he starts listing.
I answered. I go, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time, Andy. Real quick, who are the 5 worst comedians going today?
He started going.
He's an answer. I was just being ridiculous.
He's the greatest. Oh my God. Andy Kindler. Sometimes you think like, is he like, we're not the same age? Is it going to be a different sense of humor? He is so great, so fast, so funny, so giving. Oh, he's like surprised right and left. So fucking fun.
Here's a letter from Maggie, and she brings up Q&A. So she's talking about the Keith and the Girl VIP program. Speaking of Bianca, that's where you want to hear more of Bianca. She does a weekly show. Thank you for the marathon this weekend. Thank you for continuing to give us more shows. Q&A with Newsy, a roller coaster ride every week.
Can I tell you, this was very interesting. Sometimes we've talked to you guys about our dynamic. I'm like, oh, you know what we should do next weekend? And then the weekend after that and blah, blah, blah. And Keith is like, okay, all right. We're already doing things right now. Let's take it easy. What was interesting is I was like, let's figure out our schedule the week after the marathon. Last time we took most of the week off. We didn't do bonus VIP shows. OMAT was off. And I'm like, I think I can handle the 10 a.m. OMAT. Let's do OMAT. And he was like, all right, that's up to you. I think we can keep doing Q&A. Last week, we could put out a couple episodes. I'm like, are you still in a fever dream? And this was before the marathon. So I'm like, is he forgetting how he feels after the marathon? But we did it hours and hours this week. I am so proud of us. And I'm so amazed that there was no convincing. Everyone was on board.
This is Maggie, and she continues, between Newsy's love life and the two of you commenting old school like is my favorite part of the week. Well, we do go back to old shows, 18 years worth. And how do they stack up now? So it really is old school. My husband has been startled many times when I literally scream my responses around the house while listening to the show. Please tell Newsy not to rush because he feels competition from Bianca, who says, moving briskly along. I'll take as much chew as I can. Keith and the Girl VIP for life. Hopefully Newsy doesn't die before the next recording. Love you all. Man.
No promises.
Yeah, you've heard the show. I can't promise that. Listen,
No.
I listen to every show of his like it's the last, and it's fantastic. So here we go. We're going to give you another section of the 24-hour marathon. According to my charts, this was around 9:40 a.m. That's about 18 hours in.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Oh, and by the way, share the show if you like it. Also, we'll be live on YouTube starting again next week. So make sure that you're subscribed.
Joe DeRosa turning 45 years old. And that had a dramatic effect on him, he says. So he talks about, hey, bachelor life was fun, but he feels he's got to settle down. But with that said, she lives in a different house. I live in my house. We can do exactly what we want. I couldn't be like that for sure. But I am now, as I'm getting older, I can understand easily the idea of 2 bedrooms in the same house.
I think this should be our poll. It's really, really interesting because I do understand someone who can't live separately than their life partner, who they consider like, okay, this is going to be forever, but we should still have our own separate spaces. I can understand that. I live with someone. That's how I like it. But I think the poll should be like, is it even possible? Like, could it work out the same way or,
Right. Do you have to tell your partner, hey, I'm having somebody over my house? Letting you know, because I don't want you buzzing my door. I want you to come in when you want to. And I'm not doing anything against us. But would it be like, oh, shit, I wouldn't have wore pajamas if I knew. Who knows? I don't know. That would be too much for me, separate places. I would want to be with you more.
Okay, but you're thinking separate bedrooms could work.
Separate bedrooms I can see. And yes, obviously you can pop into my bedroom anytime. But snoring, getting up and going to the bathroom, maybe you do want to check your phone. Fuck it.
I do wonder if the pandemic had you change your mind about that because you've been alone. You've had your thoughts. It's sort of like you were in separate bedrooms in a way.
I have been at Kyle's place. All the kids are gone. And I'm snoring or doing, that sleep apnea fun. You would think that'd be more exciting because I don't breathe. I don't even talk. But anyway, it was bothering her. She was nervous about being tired. I immediately went to another room. And I'm like, all right, I'll see you soon. Not a problem. So we'll see what people can take. But anyway, here it is. Joe DeRosa with everybody else you see in the title of this episode. Enjoy.
I am entering a new phase of life. Turning 45 changed me quite a bit. Had quite a dramatic effect on me.
It must have been a day.
It had quite an effect. And I'm trying to slide a little bit out of the Bachelor Zone and a little more into, I don't know what that looks like.
Why? Because it's never, I don't think it's ever been about you wanting to be alone. It seems to be about you not matching with people, mostly because you don't want to and everybody sucks. But
right, that's part of it.
What's the difference now? It's not like unless there's a woman who's always been in your mind. She's the one. And now that you're 45, you're like, why am I fucking around?
No, honestly, it's a lot of things. I don't want to get too deep, not because I'm afraid to. I just don't want to bogart the conversation with a bunch of details about my life. But as succinctly as I can put it, the Bachelor lifestyle has been very good and been very fun and very enjoyable. Nice. I've had a great time, but there are multiple moving parts to it that I think are sort of shifting in my life. For instance, like I've always enjoyed going out and drinking and having a good time. That has become a sort of definitive aspect of my life that also has an effect on the way I date and stuff like that. And as I get older, I'm a little like, okay, like
I'm done having fun. I can settle down. Women won't bore me anymore. Maybe one won't be so bad. Maybe it wouldn't be bad at all. But she just has to be okay with all the shit I do when I'm normally bachelor. But I'm changing that too. For me, not for her. But since we're here, for her also, because she benefits. And you know what? Maybe being a couple isn't so bad.
I don't know. I think I definitely don't want to be a traditional couple in the sense of cohabitation and stuff like that. I know that does not interest me. I have no.
What does that
in
mean?
kids.
She wears rollers and vacuums, and you give her a dishwasher
No,
for
no,
her present.
I'm
Like,
not.
what's
Hold on.
traditional?
I'm not attacking gender roles.
And I'm not attacking you. We're just to get it on the right page.
I just mean like I think the idea, I think the concept of finding another person that you want to share your life with exclusively in that sense is hard enough. I think bringing a cohabitation into that makes it insane. In my opinion, makes it insane. So if I meet, in other words, I have friends, both male and female, that I love dearly, that I would take a bullet for. I couldn't live with them. They have certain habits that would drive me fucking crazy.
I would take a bullet, just not a dish. You are a fucking mess.
I mean, but that's the thing. If you meet the love of if you're a very organized and neat person and you meet the love of your life and they're completely scattered and messy, why try to merge those aspects together? I don't understand that. I just don't get it. Like, what is the harm in, well, then you have your place and I'll have mine and we'll sleep over a bunch and we don't have to keep your sink the way you keep your sink. Like, why does that have to be all under one roof? Like, I don't quite understand.
But will you ever go to that person's house?
Yeah.
If their sink is the way they are, and so you're okay with however much they do their bedding and wash their hair and their clothes, and
it's not my business. It's not my problem.
All right. So it doesn't gross you out on the outside. Just don't bring it into the house.
No, personal hygiene would gross me out if somebody didn't clean them. That's gross to me. And like, if you go to their house and there's like mold in their sink, that's kind of, I'm like, that would be like, ugh. But like,
I'm gonna say fair point. We're still there.
We're still there. But you know, like, just
all right. Who is she, Joe? Who is it?
It's nobody yet. I promise.
Really?
I promise.
Joe, I have to tell you though, a lady friend of mine who's listening to the show just texted me that you're selling her on Dating You, talking about having two houses and keeping your sink how you want it.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to introduce the two of you after the show.
I love it. But like, you know, like Shelton, like your apartment or house or wherever you live, whatever I can see of it right now is very much you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
like gay.
Yeah. Yeah, no homo, bro.
There's a rubber duck, there's anal beads wrapped around the duck's neck, and
there you go. I have all my like stuff that I like back here. So like, if I meet somebody that I love and then that person's like, we don't
and the dildos that is the you get the picture.
You know, and they're like, we don't have room for your movies anymore. It's like, why? Like, what?
Are those tapes?
You know, this is all, I collect a lot of media. This is all, there's movies.
Oh, it's media, not tapes. But are they tapes
my
anyway?
Cassette collection. This is for my records. My video games up here.
Oh yeah, totally separate houses. Good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like people are like, oh man, I really hate that she loves potpourri, but I guess it's it's like, why? Like, just, I don't know. Like, I don't get it, but anyway.
I get that. I think it's interesting because in big cities you almost move in, you definitely move in faster because you're saving money, and in smaller, more spread out places, you're doing it more for tradition, I think, because you really can live on your own. I think here you're just like, well, I can't live on my own and the lease is up, so let's start making decisions.
Well, I will tell you, there is, and there always has been in the tradition of marriage, there is a survival element to it. And I think when you're younger, people, you know, most people that don't live in these huge coastal cities, like they get married in their 20s, you know what I mean? People start having kids in their 20s. It's very different out there. I think there's still a survival element to it. It's like, well, how can we get a house? Well, we have to pool our money and buy a house together. Like, I can't do it. But when you get up to my age,
you're in the second wave, which is perfect. You're at 45. They just got divorced. Just give them a couple years to, you know, tell the truth about what just happened to themselves, and then they're ready.
But also too, both parties, when you're in your 40s, even people in their 30s, both parties, if you've gone that long without the conjoining of anything, you know, you at that point, you're like, no, I know how to do this on my own. Like, I don't need to, you know, there is no element of like, oh God, if only I had more of another person here to help me do that. You know, that's all to me, that part, the co-support, that's emotional. So anyway, that's where I'm at with dating.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I think wherever you are, and I say this to anybody, there's like other people in that space also.
We'll see.
How do you, I don't see how it wouldn't be a problem to somebody if you wanted them to stay over the night. You're exclusive, but you have your separate, and they just go, nah, not tonight. I don't want to. How would you not take that personal that night?
Wait, how would you not take it personally?
Yeah. No, I don't want to tonight. Why? Well, you know, we don't have this kind of hang up, so I just don't want to.
Like I wouldn't take it if somebody was like, dude, I gotta sleep. It gets hot when it's you and me in the bed. I got to get up early. It's just not a good night for it. Like, I'd be like, okay, great.
Yeah, but it's not that. I just don't want to today.
Fine. I'll play my
Thank you.
Nintendo Switch tonight.
Okay.
Have a good
Well, you
night.
don't have to be passive aggressive about it, but okay. So you're-
Fine. I have plans anyway.
Yeah. I have got. I don't know if you're looking behind me. I've got plenty of
I have
things
media,
to entertain
so don't
myself
worry.
back here that most women would want no part of. No, I don't want to crack open the Tales from the Dark Side box set, Joe. I'm gonna go home. Okay, great.
No, you don't. It really Tales from the Dark Side.
1,000%.
Okay.
Don't just make
It's a good series. I like it.
It's great. It's great. I love it. It's so fun. I love anthology horror. I have Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone.
Do you have Outer Limits?
I do. I have volume 1 of Outer Limits. I don't have volume 2 because I don't like volume 1 that much, but I'm a completionist, so I want to buy volume 2 now. Just to have it. I opened a box. This one I just got. I opened this last night. It's called Tales to Keep You Awake. It's a Spanish anthology horror series from the 70s.
Ooh.
It's good. So far it's pretty good. But yeah, I like all this stuff. So
You're saying people can't live with you. That's gonna be tough.
yes, it would be impossible.
It's very I don't stay here tonight because you want to be alone. Okay.
When you finish one of your collections, do you go, oh, that was good? Or do you go, who the work is done?
It becomes a little bit of both because I do have a backlog. I have a lot of stuff that's unopened still, because when you start to collect things, you start to buy, you know, Shout Factory has a sale, so you buy things because you're like, well, fuck, man, it's $10 this month, and then you buy it, and then you put it on the shelf, and you don't get to it yet because you're still working on the other stuff you haven't seen. So there's a little bit of the work. Gary Goldman used to have that joke about the Netflix queue when he was like, he couldn't sleep, and he's like, I could have banged out the rest of Toy Story 3, and you know, like, it's like a job. It's the same thing with collecting. Like my closet, I have a closet over there for all my video games. There's so many video games. I bought $700 worth of video games when I was in Japan because I knew I'd never get to see them ever again. I haven't played any of them yet. They're just sitting there. So sometimes it's better when you put it in for the first time and you hate it because you're like, all right, fuck it, that's done. I don't have to worry about that now.
Oh,
If
let me tell
like
you
it,
another
then you
reason
can-
people let people move into their physical space. You have to throw that out.
Josh Gondelman. Hello, Josh.
Hey, Keith. How's it going?
Good. We're
Good,
talking
Josh.
to Joe DeRosa over here. He's changing the way the world will look at relationships.
That's beautiful. What's up, Joe? Good to see you.
You
Good to
don't
see you
know
all.
Good to see you, buddy.
Beautiful.
Good to see you.
Josh is so positive that we just told him Joe is changing the world, and he's like, obviously that's going to be beautiful. Okay, all right.
I only
Beautiful
heard
that he thinks that.
I heard the tail end. Right. Hey, I believe it. I heard the tail end of the collecting stuff, and I'm riveted because we have a house. Our apartment is like full of kind of collections that are competing for space. So I
Wow.
relate to it very much.
What are the collections?
So my wife Maris has a lot of books. Like she works in books, and then there are the books that are like for work, and then there are the books that are like personal attachment, and she has a lot of dresses. And with me it's sneakers, and my sneaker collection is growing spatially problematic, which is stereotypical, but it is true. It's like I'm like on the verge. Well, I have a bunch of Kyries and a pair of Yeezys that I'm like, well, those have to go, right? But I can't bring myself to just like, I can't throw them out on the street. And I'm like, do I find an anti-Semite to give the Yeezys to?
How many sneakers do you have?
It's like probably in the low 50s with pairs at this point.
Okay, that's
a lot.
serious
It's
collection.
excessive. It's
Josh,
excessive.
Serum?
I
Or
don't
is it the
know that I've
collection?
bought 50 shoes in my adult life, but
Wow.
Yeah.
I probably bought 50 coffees. I'm sure I have something.
Yeah.
50
They're the same.
coffees.
They're the same.
In my
she
adult
did
life.
say-
I'm
say
saying
the
that's like a
coffees.
good month.
Okay.
That's funny. That was a very endearing way, Hemda, for you to connect.
Oh,
it
You're
was
like,
the
I've bought
worst.
50 of
Right.
something.
I've had 50
coffee."
sandwiches.
I said hi 50 times to people. Did you Josh, you and your wife, do you live in the same house?
We do. It is an aesthetic clash for sure.
Kind of lame. Kind of lame. Joe, explain it to him.
Well, what I'm saying, I think it's so crazy when I go to friends' houses who are married,
They live
and now the term in mainstream sitcom, whatever you want to call it, has become man cave.
Yeah.
But which sounds like it leans in favor of the male, but then they'll go, this is my man cave, but then the whole house is the wife. It's like all her stuff. So really all they've done is
Bet
they've
you the
separated.
husband jacked off in all of those places also.
Yeah.
That's
There's
fair.
not
That's fair.
one place that I can't be by myself to do whatever fucking man cave shit. You think I don't do man cave shit?
I'm not.
I don't. I don't know
But
what
you're
it
saying,
is. I
but
just-
Joe,
I-
you're
I
saying
just-
like aesthetically, there's the
Yes.
man cave, and then
I'm
you're
just-
saying in like this typical
Yeah.
like hetero sitcom
They put-
way,
yeah, they
man
put
cave,
it-
and then that's below like the whole woman forest is what you're saying.
Yes. And I'm not, by the way, I want to be very clear. I'm not complaining about that.
No.
What
I'm just
is,
saying that's what
yeah.
you're noticing, right? That
There's
when-
this concept of like, well, the guy gets his thing out there, and it's like, well, no, they've just separated their things. It's like,
Right.
why not just have two separate apartments? Like, I don't understand.
I love that everyone in your life is rich enough to have 2 apartments. It's like I just like the idea that I wouldn't live with the person that I spend all of my time with is like so bonkers to me. Because like
yeah, that's fair.
yeah, like
That's
it's
fair.
double rent in New York City. Absolutely never.
That's fair.
I don't know. I'm very team. I've never lived with a person. And like, even when I was with people, I'd be like, I'm glad that you have your own place and I have my own place. Cause I just have my way of doing things. Like, I'm sorry if I have to like do whatever, start an OnlyFans to keep my own apartment, I'll fucking do it. I don't want to live with other people. I've just learned
Right.
that.
I
That's-
believe
I get
I
it.
believe both can work, obviously, but I know that people just assume that people live with each other. But Joe and Calvin, I totally get it. When you're in a romantic relationship, moving in with each other adds not romance, it adds calculations, accounting, taxes, finances. It adds the
Yes.
kind of meetings that don't bring more blowjobs. It's not,
How do you do your taxes?
like one blowjob at a time. You got to make it fun, Shelton.
Yeah.
It's a W-69. You just got to do it. Trust me.
Hello, have you never done your taxes with? Okay, do you
Well-
live with someone? Because that's how it happens.
I'll
job doesn't mean you can rate it off, guys. All right.
I'll toss.
It's actually right until you hit a certain threshold. It's actually just a blow hobby in the eyes of the IRS.
There's
Haven't
another
gone pro.
there's another aspect to it, though, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that this is impossible with cohabitation, but I
Is
would
this rule
say-
for everybody, Joe? Just to be
Say
clear.
again?
Is this rule for everybody? No? Okay.
No, not
Or
for everybody.
different? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've gotten very used to qualifying all of my statements before I say them. But no, I also think too, in a like you just said, Hemda, like the separation creates a little more mystery and allows potentially, like I heard a therapist say once, like to a couple, they shouldn't walk around naked in front of each other all the time because it mystifies the sexual aspect of the relationship. It just becomes a normal thing. And I think that there is something to that. You know, I know couples where they're like, oh Christ, she has to dress up like a bird. We've been married for 35 years.
His
Whatever the
bare
fuck
ass
they're
is like
doing.
his bare ass is like a cabinet to me. Like I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I pretend that I'm a fucking electrician and I come in to check the meters and, you know, like whatever fucking thing you have to do. But I think like there is an interesting, that's why I'm never against the idea of like, oh, the person lives in another state. Like maybe it continues that way.
That's harder, but I get the not living with each other because you can't at like whenever you're done at work, you can't go, what are we doing tonight? You have to go, what are you doing tonight? And then you have to come up with what to do to entice that other person to do it. Not, hey, are you doing the dishes? Like this, there's negotiations that are not sexy at all. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
I find it sexy because I don't want to adult by myself if I am adulting with you physically. So if I am doing the work of a relationship, like Shelton said, I don't want to pay 2 rents. I don't want to pretend like, and I don't want to, I think what ends up happening is I got to think of your refrigerator and my refrigerator and how many, but I think you're planning on living even more separate than that in genuinely dating, not pretending you don't live with each other and spending every night together.
I would say this started, this was always a thing rattling around in my head for years, but it really kind of crystallized when I opened my business with my friend Paul, who's one of my best friends, but he's also my business partner now. And obviously we're not in a romantic relationship and we don't live together, but he is the kind of friend where he's there, like literally he's like, what do you need, dude? Like I'm there, I'll come right over. And I was like, oh, this is possible because we are connected, not by romance, but by this business we have together. And also we have this thing where it's like, dude, are you okay? Like he was really sick last week. And I was like, dude, do you need anything? I'll bring you stuff if you need it. Whatever. And I was like, this could work. This could work. Like, what if he was my wife? But except he lived in Union Square.
Are you coming out on the podcast?
I was gonna say, oh my God,
This is
welcome
beautiful.
to being gay.
Yeah.
You also get to share outfits. It's so good.
Here's a chapstick. Have fun. Have fun.
I'm a big, that's so.
Is that the second step? Chapstick?
Chapstick.
Yeah, the third step is knowing their name.
I'm a big believer in I wrote an article about it for Penthouse. I'm a big believer in the concept of a platonic marriage. Like,
Dear Penthouse, I'm a big believer in.
No, I got paid. It wasn't just
writing in to be like, I think marriage should be platonic, and they're like, this is the least horny letter we've ever received. We know this is from a real person and not like a fake person.
Yeah. Boner killer letter of the month goes to this guy, calls himself Jay.
I never thought this would happen to me.
I have a friend.
I like my wife.
But I think, but when I was talking earlier about friends that I love dearly that I could never live with, Paul, I did the Honeydew podcast, Ryan Sickler's podcast, and we talked about us opening this business, and I literally got to a point of talking about Paul where I almost started crying because he's been such an amazing friend. But then I was like, but I couldn't live with him; I'd kill him. And I was like, there's anyway, platonic. I could platonically marry Paul. So maybe,
but I understand.
Maybe I'm coming
that feeling.
out. I don't know.
I understand that feeling of like in any kind of dynamic. Excuse me, going, this person is so important to me and we spend so much time together and we need some kind of boundary, right? Like there has to be some space that's like, this space and time is yours, this space and time is mine, even though we have so much that's shared. I think that's like,
do you, Josh, do you have moments where, because a friend of mine said this to me recently, she said she sat at her desk in her office for an extra hour after work ended because she just wasn't ready to go like, not, she wasn't mad at her husband or anything. She just said she just wasn't ready to go home and be in the room with him, and like whatever that entails. Do you ever have separation issues with your wife where you're like, I just need to get the fuck out of the house for like a few hours, and like, or is it very easy peasy?
We're
Or
pretty
was the
good.
pandemic just your dream come
It was.
true?
It wasn't the dream. I wasn't like, oh, this is what I've always wanted.
Right.
But it is. I the way that I put it, because I don't want it to sound like a slight against anyone, because it's not. Is like what got me through the pandemic without fully losing my mind, and I think I probably partially lost my mind, was that like I live with a person who I love and love hanging out with every day. I will also say it's not that I'm ever like, oh, I need to get out of here, I can't look at her anymore, but it is also nice to be around
Sure.
other people additionally.
I think it's nice to be around other people, and it's nice to be alone.
Yes.
Because if you're not alone, as much as you love anybody else, they are interrupting your thoughts.
Mhm.
And you have to have an uninterrupted, unintrusive time to think about nothing, watch your
Mhm.
stupid shit,
Yep.
sit around naked picking your body, eat like a fat pig, like what I mean, eat like just whatever it is that's just yourself for the moment, you know? And it's funny because I think like, oh, when I'm by myself, which is pretty rare, I do eat like super messy. I leave the stuff on my face. It feels gross. It is gross. And it's like, oh, then it sounds like you just want to live by yourself. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that every day. I won't like myself. I won't want to live with myself. I
Right.
need to do that every once in a while. So it's still conducive to like live with someone else. I just need them to leave every here and again, and me to leave
Yeah.
every here and again. But if we were, I don't know, we live in a studio apartment. I can't be alone here. So if we lived in like even a 1-bedroom apartment, that's alone time.
We
No.
have a 2-bedroom, which is very fortunate. That was like the other saving grace of like our old apartment was a 1-bedroom with like kind of a big open living room. So it's either like you're in bed or you're in the living room, and we set up this is like our little office that we share, and that is so helpful, right? Because then it's like I can do this and we can talk, and Maris can be out in the living room reading a book or in the bedroom relaxing, and she's not like your fucking voice, you know what I mean? And so it is like nice to have that space. And I think in New York, the idea of like how much space you need is so perverted compared to other places where you're
Right.
like, God, all I need is like a place that's big enough for like 2 human beings to stand upright in, and that's, God, that would be a joy. But we share a phone booth. We both sleep in a phone booth.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like what, so like, you know, with I dated not dated, we went out 2 times, but the 3 times. The third time she stayed over. I run crazy hot when I sleep. Like my body doesn't get hot. I get hot.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm hot to the touch. I'm hot all the fucking time. So I'm the kind of person, like, I will turn the air conditioner on in December, like, because I'm hot. I can't sleep. I have a fan pointed at me on most nights. This girl's body temperature, like to the touch, it felt steaming to me. Like I was like this, and I was like, if I were to date this person, I literally could never sleep over with her because I will not sleep. It's like the older I get, the more I realize, like, you know, everybody would whisper about the couples in the suburbs growing up. You know, they have separate bedrooms. They're having problems. It's like they're not having problems. They can't fucking sleep.
They have a
having
solution.
solution.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yes.
this is mine. Thank you.
My partner and I have 2 homes, which is like been the best thing for me, is because he lives upstate and I live in the city. And that's been like the biggest dream, is because we get to spend like about half the month together, but we get 2 different places. So like better than like having separate apartments, it's like we have an apartment in the city and a place upstate.
That's
and so it's
great.
been like the best diversification of like how we spend time together, how we enjoy each other, getting to have time alone, being able to enjoy when we're together.
Do
You
you?
know,
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's
But-
honestly the best.
But you're also in. Can you sleep with other people?
Yeah, we're both open.
So I feel like already being in an open relationship, you because I think, Shelton, you specifically communicate pretty well in that regard. You don't have to.
Sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have to, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong. But I assume then that you don't have as much issue with, I want to go up to the cabin. There's not like extra questions of why do you want to be with someone else? Do you want to be alone? Is it me? Is it, I imagine there's not as much of that, but is there, is it never able to be eliminated because it's not where we live, it's just who we are?
Mm.
No, I mean, it's really easy. We were out on New Year's and someone asked what our plans were for the next day. And Chris like looked at the group of people and was like, oh, I'm heading home because I need alone time now. Like, I'm done. Like, we've been socializing since Christmas. And I watched as all of my friends like sort of did that intake of breath. Like, oh, are they having relationship problems? And it was like, no, we just spent like 9 days together with zero separation, like with my family the whole time or with my friends, you know, like I honestly need this space too. Like, please, like, thank you.
Yes.
You know, and it is interesting because people aren't used to asking for that space. And I watch as some of my other friends think that it means that something is wrong when it just is like, we've been together 6 years and it's easy enough to communicate. Like, you're not going anywhere. Like,
Also, it helps
please
me
take a leave.
trust you because now I trust when you don't want to be with me, you're not with me. So when you do
Yeah.
want to be with me, you are making that choice. Now I trust that when you need alone time, you're not hanging out with me because people can feel it. What's up? Nothing.
The flip side of that is when you go, hey, is this cool? And they go, yeah, it's cool. You trust that they're saying it's cool because if it weren't cool, they would be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, also too, like, you know, we're all in the entertainment business, you know, in similar and different ways. For me personally, it's like look at this right now. It's like, oh, I was available at 9:30 in the morning and I wanted to come in and do the podcast with my friends and be part of this fun experience. If I had another person here, I'm just speaking to my living space, the way my living space is laid out. It would have been, is that okay? Are you cool? Are you still sleeping? Am I being too loud? Because there isn't another, it's one bedroom. And, you know, for me, with spinning all these different plates, with podcasting, with stand-up, with the bar, all these things I'm doing, I don't have that luxury all the time. I can't always check in with the other and where I'm working from home so much, check in with the other person and go, is this kosher if I do this at this time? It's like, no, that's the time I have to do that. That's the only time I have. So if there's no escape hatch, if there is no, I know you also work from home and you've got to do your thing, so go over to your place. If I didn't have that, I don't have anything right now. I'm alone. But in my pretend relationship, if she didn't have her other place, it would be very, very complicated.
I agree with you because you would have to negotiate. I was about to argue with you, like, of course you're on a call at 9:30 then. Like, it's not like I would have to argue to do that. But you're right that you do have to negotiate. You're right that you would have to be like, at 9:30 a.m., I will be making noise in this place if you have a studio apartment. I'm doing a 24-hour show and I live with my partner, but he's also doing it. So I guess that's how I fucking find solutions.
Right.
I'm like, you want to just do the tech for it? Let's stay up.
So yeah, I mean, that's the last time I had a roommate. And it wasn't really a roommate. It was, this is such a simple, I was living in LA and I started renting a room with an acquaintance. I thought it was a friend, but I learned quickly it was just an acquaintance. But and she was very cool,
that's real cancellation. You know, that's cancel culture.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I thought you were a friend. Goodbye.
Yeah, no. I was like, you know what? I don't
Demoted.
think I care for you. No, but I rented a room from her for a very, very low amount of money. And she was like, look, I'm not using that room. It's come in when you need to come into New York, do your work and leave. And I was like, great. That's perfect.
Very cool.
And I was there, I'm not exaggerating, 3 days. On the third day, I had an audition and I said, I have to go in the other room to do this audition on Zoom. Is that okay? And she said, yes. And I was doing the audition and she fucking flipped out at me. And she's like, "Stop fucking screaming. You're scaring my cat." And I was like, "I'm not screaming. There's a part in the audition where I get hit and I have to yelp, ow." That was what she was referring to as screaming. And she's like, "Not fucking cool, dude." And I was like, that's it. I'm never, never again. Like never, ever, ever. Now I know that that's a ridiculous scenario, but my point is, like it was an intrusion on her space in its own way. And it was something as stupidly benign as like, I'm going to go in the other room and put myself on tape for an audition. And I'm going to have to yell, ow. And in my head, I'm just like, who cares? It's nothing. It's like I'm yelling, I'm going to do it 10 times, but I'm only yelling ow at one point. And to her, it was like, this is insane. Like I'm hearing this yelp coming from the other room and it's freaking my cat out. And as much as I disagreed with her reaction to it, I understood like, oh, it's not just, my thing has an effect on another person in a weird way. And I'm not even dating this person. This is just a fucking pal who I'm renting a room from. Anyway, we don't speak anymore. But
you just yell.
Yeah, just yell.
Yeah, I mean that is different, But yes, you do have to deal with someone else, quote unquote. Yeah, you have to negotiate.
I also thought you and Keith were together again when you said we're my partner is also doing this too. I was like, did you and Keith get back together?
Have you ever
That's funny.
Have you ever lived with somebody, Joe?
Roommates, never anybody I was romantically involved with, not even close. But I also was so petrified of commitment well into my early 40s that it just never would have come up. But I've had plenty of roommates.
Well into your early 40s, you're 45. You just made the change.
I know. It took a long time. I went through the change.
Like a butterfly? Like
a butterfly. You went through rent-a-pause.
Yeah. Yeah. We should coin a term for it. Menopause, something like that. Josh, you can have that. Menopause. Take it, run with it.
Wow, that's generous.
Dude, I got nothing. This is huge for me. Can I write that down?
Are you sure you don't want anyone living with you, Joe? What a find.
I still got that girlfriend who wants your number.
Shelton's friend, a little advice. Make sure if you are deep inhaling and exhaling, it sounds more like meditation than sighing.
I mean,
this one,
be a goddamn human being.
This one, Joe.
What?
How many of those do you get in a relationship with you?
How many exhales?
Yeah.
Oh, how many can I put up with, or how many
you
am
didn't
I emitting?
flinch. I thought you would flinch in me doing that twice just now.
No. But what's the no? It's I want to understand the question. How many do I give, or how many can I tolerate?
How many can you tolerate?
I could, if they're not directed at me, endless amounts. But if if it came with that, if I'm talking, if we're having a dispute, I don't know what you call it, but not an argument, but you know what I mean. If there's a problem,
God forbid, no, you would never.
No, I wouldn't.
Not with one.
If we're trying to talk something out, and somebody goes, that's so passive aggressive. That's not a cool thing to do. But I would say, okay, I really don't like when you do that because it's very condescending. And if they said, okay, cool, then I'd be like, okay, cool. If they met that statement with another, we might have a problem with that.
Doubling down on the sigh.
I know, Keith, you feel that way because your father had a big sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll throw you into train tracks. It is disgusting. It's vomitous. It's it's deliberate. It's not an accident. And you're less than a human fucking being.
Okay. How about this one? Because I don't think I do that, but I do this. Wait, hold on.
Oof. That's worse.
I got an oof
that
in
is
stereo.
worse.
Shelton, were you the other oof?
I think I was just reacting to the oof because that's the worst for me is when someone like isn't. It's not like the condescending sigh. It's just the lack of interest that you exist. You know, and then you're like,
Okay.
oh, that like cut.
Right. Wrap it up.
That doesn't bother me like this side does. This doesn't
That's
bother me
interesting.
because you are saying something. You're saying you're lying to me. A
Ooh.
sigh, it's just like everything's too much. I'm a bitch.
Keith, I love this side of you.
Thank you.
Valley Girl Keith is maybe my favorite incarnation of Keith.
Thank you.
Everybody has those little things though. It's like the texture of it that like drives you up a wall. You know what I mean? It's like not everybody reacts to all of them the same way, but everybody has the one that's like, oh, you motherfucker. Like,
Also,
like
my
not
dad
that
never
one.
went, but my dad does go.
If it's
Or that.
hysterical, it's historical.
Well,
Just
I
saying.
think too, the one that gets me, the one that like where it's like I see red, is if in the middle of an actual argument, somebody goes, you know what? I'm not talking about this anymore. I'm done. This is stupid. And like, I'm like, that to me is the most disrespectful because it's like, how dare you? How dare you tell me that you have now become the judge on what's important for us to talk about? This is clearly a problem. We're both raising our voices. This is an issue. We need to talk about this. Because saying that and saying, I don't want to do this now, I want to wait till we're calm. Those are two very different things. I understand the second one. We're not getting anywhere. Let's put a pin in this. That's fine. But when somebody goes, I'm done, this is stupid. I'm like, oh my God.
Have you considered that what you're saying is stupid though?
Yeah, I hate the why are you yelling at me? But we're both A, speaking in the exact same tone. B, if I was whispering it, I'd be fucking psychotic. We're supposed to give a shit about this.
Yeah.
But you know, guys have a habit of why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I am speaking at this volume. It's things you don't want to hear. So it sounds very loud to you. And maybe the attitude sounds like I'm amplified, but I'm just frustrated and it has to do with you.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Is that a side? Where does that fall into?
Honestly, into a master class, Hemda, reading to Phil. You know what I mean? I think they deserve it, probably.
This made up person.
Yeah.
No, but I do hear like dudes say she was yelling at me, and I was like, I was there. She was upset. I don't think anyone was raising a voice. Also, like, raise a voice. Get upset.
Sure.
Don't curse at me and yell at me, but like maybe yell a little.
Well, also
Fine.
too, you learn as you go through life, people's definition of yelling is different. Then you incorporate how much people misuse words. So there are people that go,
That's true.
they were yelling at me, and you go, no, they weren't. They were being very direct with you. They weren't yelling, but being stern and yelling are two different things. They can coexist, but it's not the same thing. And
also, I've responded, sorry to cut you off, to why are you yelling? Oh, because I'm upset. And this is the volume that I'm upset at right now.
sure. Yes. Yeah.
I can walk away right now, but I can't take my volume down right now.
Yes. Well, and
It's
it's
just
also,
where I am.
it's also saying to the other person, I have a friend who's a comic who we all know, who they talked about on the radio, Dan Soder. Dan Soder's a big 49ers fan. I texted Dan Soder. The 49ers played the Eagles last week to get
Yes,
into
they
the Super
did, and they
Bowl.
lost me $25. I got double or nothing on some other bullshit team that I don't even remember, and it's gonna fuck me again because I lost $50 on a Super Bowl I am not watching. Anyway,
bummer.
Dan Soder is great. We
Well,
voted for this.
he loves the 49ers. He gets very into the game. While I was watching the game with Jay Okerson, we're Philly guys. So I was like, I'm going to tweet Dan, or I'm going to text Dan. And we were kind of laughing. I'm going to stir up the shit. And I went onto a text thread with all of us, and I said, Yeah, it's a shame the 49ers just couldn't get the job done today. They're playing like a bunch of bums or whatever. And Dan got so mad that he said, if I was in the same room with you right now, I'd hit you. And I
Are
was
straight people okay? This is sports.
That's-
I know.
Healthy
why
communication.
Are you abusing each
Literally
other over
toxic.
people you don't know.
I know, I agree.
It's
And I
not
was
even
like,
your mother playing.
Yeah, like
And
you
I-
don't know these people.
I
You
know,
actually can pay them less now that they lost. So
I
you
know.
saved money.
I know. And I know, I agree. And I kept stirring it up. I kept being like, you're lucky I'm not with you right now. I'd give you a piece of my mind, pal.
Oh
Like,
my
and
goodness.
he was getting so mad and I was laughing really hard. And the next day,
Did
he
you know,
called
by
me-
the way? Because I don't know that I would know that this person's actually genuinely mad. How do you know?
No,
over
I could tell
text?
I was like, he's mad right now. He's
Okay.
not being like funny. He's not like, he's being like, I would smack you if I was with you right now.
Okay.
And he called me the next day and apologized. And he's like, dude, I saw this is the point I'm getting at. I'm not telling the story to make fun of Dan.
Never.
He called me and apologized. And I said to him, dude, as much as I didn't agree with how you reacted, I clearly did something that stoked you in a certain way and you had a reaction to it. That was not my intention to this extent. I'm sorry too. And like Hemna, what you were just talking about, when somebody
Yeah.
goes, why are you yelling? It's like, well, perhaps maybe I'm being irrational, maybe I'm not, but maybe you're doing something that's causing a reaction out of me right now. And I really hate when the other person only says like, why did you react that way? It's like, well, let's talk about it. But maybe you can meet me partway here and apologize too, that you did a thing that I'm not proud of the way I reacted to it, but I reacted to
Right.
it. You know what I mean? Like, so
But
Anyway.
imagine it's like similar to your point of like, we can't talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about this stupid thing with you anymore versus like, hey, can we talk about this later? It's the same as like, why are you yelling about this versus like, oh, wait, like, is this more upsetting than I realized it was? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you
Like,
might not
there's a-
realize that until
It's the
next
same
day.
question, but one is asked in a way that's like,
Mm.
what the fuck is wrong with you versus like, oh, what's wrong?
yes,
Mm.
yes.
Yeah.
My
I have you ever I've gotten, why are you upset? I'm like, why are you not upset?
yes.
It's one of the things.
Right, it's on the table as a feeling you can have.
It's fine. You're
Yeah.
upset. It's not about me. It's about something. Be upset about something.
Right.
I will
And
give
that's
you
the
a
difference
list.
between like like yelling is like, right, that's part of the spectrum. It's not like, hey, why are you bashing through the drywall with a rolling pin? Like that's fucked up.
That's
Yeah.
Because
different.
you're redecorating.
Yeah.
outward
So that's
aggr-
some weak drywall if it's just a rolling pin to go through it.
outward aggression makes me uncomfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable, which I know sounds funny coming from me because I'm a loud guy and I'm opinionated and I'm coarse and all that stuff. But outward aggression makes me very uncomfortable. When somebody explodes and gets like pit bully, it makes me very uncomfortable. But
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I
but
think that's fair, even like
sure.
from a person who gets outwardly away. Yeah.
Well, you know what it
the
is?
person who does that should be the one apologizing.
Sure. But you know what it is? It's like when you have I grew up in a loud household and we yelled and whatever. When you have a tendency to, I've worked so hard over the years. I'm like, I don't like going to that place and I'm going to, and you start to try to figure it out and not do it anymore. When somebody then does it to you, it takes you back to like childhood. Like it's like you get the same feeling like that terrible stomach feeling when like your dad yelled at you or something. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's not my point. My point is that makes me
It
uncomfortable.
absolutely is your point, and that's
Yeah.
my point.
Right.
I love walking.
Why are
away
you both yelling?
Why are we yelling?
Passive. This is what I was getting at. Passive aggressive though makes me see fucking red. Somebody just mentioned passive aggressive. It makes me crazy. I find passive aggression so disrespectful. Aggression, I'm like, you're overreacting and you need to calm down and we can revisit this when you collect your thoughts. Passive aggressive, I'm like, you motherfucker, you've gotten away with this for a long time with a lot of people. And it really, really bothers me for some reason.
Well, because passive aggressive, I think by definition is something that you cannot respond to because the person is making a statement that can't be reciprocated. So when you're aggressive, at least you're saying something, I don't like you. But when you're passive aggressive, you're saying something where it's like, what did I say, sort of thing.
Yes.
There's no response. It's just a shitty thing to say that underhandedly gets your message across, but doesn't do it in a way that allows anyone to tackle it directly.
Yeah.
So you got to say it, and now we all have to move on pretending like you said something different.
It's like when somebody gets, like Bobby Kelly used to have a joke about like guys that don't know how to joke around. You'll be like, hey, dude, that shirt sucks. And he's like, yeah, I heard your mom's sick. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? Right? Like,
By the way, both of those are in the same category, but we get the steps there.
right. But
And they're made of dicks.
aggression,
Yes.
aggression, Dan's saying he's going to slap me. I can go, all right, dude, let's revisit this tomorrow. Passive aggression, you go, dude, you kind of went into some weird place where I'm like, I don't know what that was all about, man. You know, it's just very different to me.
Because then you
That's
have
not
to
even
do.
passive aggressive. That's even direct because you're saying what you didn't like about it. Passive aggressive would more be like, yeah, if Dan liked the 49ers more than his actual friends, it's like, what?
But it's
Yes, that to me is worse than I'd smack you if I was in the room with you.
and when someone hits you, the thing with passive aggression I find is like then you have to like do journalism to get to the root of it. Where they'll be like, oh, if that's someone goes, oh, that's fine if that's important to you, and you go, well, what do you mean by that, right? Where if someone's like, oh, I think that's a bad idea, you go, well, I think it's a good idea, let's hash it out. But if they're like, oh yeah, if you think that's like a good use of your time, sure, and you're like, well, what are you saying? Like, tell me what you think is wrong.
The worst of all of them is it must be nice. That's the most, it's my pet peeve, number one of all time. I put a picture of my PS5 and my Xbox Series X on Instagram one day, and I said, these are my children, meaning I live alone. I am 45. Instead of spending money on kids, I bought the 2 new video game consoles, which is much cheaper than having a child. And somebody wrote, must be nice to be rich. And I was like, I like had to pace to not respond to it. You know what I mean? Because you want to be like, I'm not rich, I don't have fucking kids, and I can afford to treat myself to certain
And the worst part of it all, it is nice.
It is though. We have Jess Wood here. We have Erin Maguire. Please do me a favor, school these guys. Go ahead.
Hey guys.
I actually, I don't know what Erin was going to say, but I got to tell you, it was very fucking moving and beautiful to hear a bunch of men speak on vulnerability, intimacy, dealing with the partners, what they want, being honest. And I'm like, I'll fuck all of you. Like, what is going on over there? I love you guys.
Jess, I love that. I love that. And I
Sure.
think it's very necessary because look at them. They're so proud of themselves. But could somebody be proud of me? I did the fucking same thing. We never get credit for it. I got to go over my feelings constantly and not fucking flip out over it because now I'm yelling. Anyway, yes,
Must be
they're-
nice, Hemda.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
So anyway,
And they're
it's
amazing.
like-
Why are you yelling, huh?
Yeah.
I know.
Because I'm upset.
It's like when a baby takes its first steps. You're the
Yes.
you're the parent. You already can walk, baby girl. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that
Yes,
baby.
I just
taking
don't
it.
want to blow the baby. So if you're gonna make yourself the
Oh,
baby and I'm
sure,
the parent,
Well, you
Sure.
obviously don't come from my house.
Did I have to join? Did I have to join this as soon as somebody says I don't want to blow the baby?
Yes.
It's already
I think
wanted
that's a
in
good
3
opinion.
states.
I
It
got nothing
is,
to
it
argue
is.
about that.
You know,
Sure.
words
Sure.
to live by. Don't blow the baby.
Yes.
And I can't wait to end this whole conversation with I'm done. This is stupid.
That's great.